Vigilante Williamson here with the fifth episode of my show, The Vigilante Williamson Show. It is Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. I hope everyone's having a blessed afternoon. This show still really doesn't have a schedule. Still working on that. I was intending to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I realized Friday evenings I have a lot of things I'd rather do than stream. I like streaming. And so I'm like, I don't know if Friday works. So we're going to try doing these on a weekend as well, and Monday, Wednesday, and maybe the weekend for now, as my schedule is what it is as far as working in life. So I hope everyone's having like I said, a blessed day, blessed evening. Got a lot of news, as you can see. The first story I'm talking about is going to be this Trump coup thing. Also going to talk about the Rick Moranis attack and a lot of fallout from that. And I also want to talk about Star Wars Squadron and pronouns and Indiana Jones 5, a bunch of other news that I wanted to get into. But first, we have to start with this Trump having the coup. And before I get into a lot of stories and a lot of fallout with that, I did do a stream around the time the news broke, maybe a couple hours after, because I was just up. So I figured I'd do a stream. So I did do a stream on it, kind of explain what we knew at the time. It's now been about 2 days because it was early Friday morning. So a little over a day and a half, I should say. But it says Trump's condition was very concerning over past day. Source says as the president is doing very well. So I saw something and actually said that he may have had oxygen. There's a lot of conflicting reports, and unfortunately, in an era where everything's politicized, and there's a lot of twisting of frame, regardless of what political side of the political spectrum you are, you have to kind of also take the reporting with a grain of salt. Either way, there could be people on the right who want to report his condition as great. There are people on the left who want to report his condition as the worst, and unfortunately, there's also people on the left who wished death upon the guy, and that's just, to me, beyond uncalled for. I'm Trump man. I'm Orange Man agnostic, as I've said many a time on this channel, but I don't wish death upon anyone. I just don't think that's good for you. For you as the person wishing death upon someone, even if you view them to be the most detestable individual you ever met, it does something to your own nature to wish death upon another person. And regardless of how you feel about that person, I just don't think that's right. And as a result, it says Trump avoids the questions on oxygen. I saw a report, and it's actually, what do I have CNN pulled up? I actually saw it watching, maybe it's not this. I guess I was going to do the Indiana Jones story. Oh, yeah, I got to do the gender story as well. But I saw something I had where CNN tab, I may have even deleted because there's a story I chose not to cover. But there's talk about him having gotten oxygen. Says his condition after receiving a diagnosis of coronavirus is very concerning. A source with knowledge of his health said Saturday, offering a more sober assessment than the one provided by the president's physician. The president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours would be critical in terms of his care, added a source familiar with Trump's health who spoke on a condition of anonymity. We are still not on a clear path for full recovery. The assessment was a more disquieting one than the prognosis offered earlier Saturday by Trump's physician, Sean Conley, who said the president was doing very well. White House officials initially said Trump had a mild case of the virus after testing positive late Thursday and moving to Walter Reed Medical Facility on Friday. Trump is doing very well, Conley told reporters at the facility on Saturday. The president has been fever-free for 24 hours and has not recently received oxygen. So that doesn't necessarily mean that could be twisted to mean anything. Conley said Trump experienced a mild cough, nasal congestion, and fatigue on Thursday, all of which are now resolving and improving. So even in his individual USA Today report, we have conflicting information and data onto the president's condition. And I think we're bumping to the mic, and I realized as I listened back to my stream, I bump into the mic way too much. But we have conflicting information on this condition, and I think unfortunately that's going to be the standard until he gets over it. Hopefully he does get over it. I don't think the country, and I'll show some of I'm not going to show all the backlash. What is this? Oh yeah, this is what the Washington Post had to remove a tweet. At least they had the balls to keep up the tweet where they admit they removed it. But the Post has removed the tweet picture below, which was written Thursday and released through an automated program. Sure, it was. Because the subsequent news of Trump's affection rendered it tasteless. So, and they're saying that this is just a post that happened to post around the same time. Hydrated, die. They said, imagine what it would be like to never have to think about Trump again. And they posted this on Thursday. It's a coincidence, and it could very well be a coincidence, but I mean, there's a lot of damn love that. So this is Trump supporters of Fox News anchors. So yeah, of course, because all Trump supporters are demons. And of course, everyone has to wish death upon somebody. Here's the thing: if you hate Trump, that's fine. You can hate Trump. Like I said, I'm orange man agnostic, and I'm bordering on black pill with the way everything runs. I mean, I'm someone who has the mentality, not that it doesn't matter who's president, but that so much is controlled by the powers that be that our impact is very nominal. Trump gives people a different opinion on that. People feel like he's a very autonomous, honest, open shooting president, whether they like him or not. But my thing is that even if you hate him, if you think he's just the worst thing this country has ever had, which I would love to know what your basis is on that. Like what standard are you holding other president and other officials to say he's the worst? In order to do that, you have to be really forgiving of a lot of other people who are just as vile, if not more. But even if you think he's terrible, disgusting, just the hatred of him has standardized people being able to justify being completely terrible because Orange Man bad. People have burned down other people's neighborhoods because Orange Man bad. People do all this stuff because Orange Man bad. Listen, he's the president of the United States. We're going through an election. I think him passing, even if you don't want him to, and there's another story, him having trouble breathing, being very fatigued. I'm trying to look at what I had these tabs up. I actually prepared this show yesterday. But the country will go into chaos if something happens to him. And it's already in chaos. And apparently other people have tested positive. 2 senators have tested positive. I mean, I don't need all these tabs. I'm getting better as the show as I go on. I realize I don't need as many tabs as I have. But people are just very sick. And speaking of sick, I want to talk about this Tom Arnold thing. So Hope Hicks is another aide who was actually initially reported of having the coof. Her getting the coof is what got the president and his wife tested, and that's how they found out they had it. But Tom Arnold tweets her personal cell number after she gets COVID. Explain this to me. Explain the morality of Tom Arnold, a rando actor who is no longer relevant, sharing a personal cell phone number of a White House aide. Why is that okay? Why is that justifiable? Because Orange Man bad, so any misbehavior justifiable. Look, what you do matters, right? So if you hate someone and you express that hate and you express that anger and you feed into that hate, it's gonna impact. As I fuck up the English language, it's gonna impact you and it's gonna affect you. It just is. Hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other man or other woman or whoever the party is that you hate to get sick. And the hatred and the toxicity that people have for the Orange Man, or positive or negative, it is a lot of toxic support he can have. Even though I think that's been overstated quite a bit. I think a lot of people don't realize how many of his supporters don't like him, but just view him as the best option. But having all that toxicity, it impacts you, brother. Tom Arnold, you have that much hatred in your heart. You released a personal cell phone number, which I don't know how he got it. That's another story. But a personal cell phone number of Trump aide because he's Trump. And therefore, anything you do is wrong. Right. it's like, okay, so you think that the precedent of you doing that is just going to stop when he leaves office and you're just going to go back to being a normal, well-adjusted person? It's sickening. All the people, and I'll give Twitter some credit because I believe they did delete a lot of the tweets that were negative about the Orange Man. But wishing death, wishing death, wishing death. Again, if you don't like him, I'm not even mad at the people who said it was irony, right? For him getting the coup. I, you can, I think he gets a little bit too much blame for the handling of it. It's like people keep saying 200,000, 200,000, as if you saw anything from Democratic leadership that would lead you to believe it would have been better. And I would say 100,000, close to, I think it's 40% of those deaths all happened in New York nursing homes. So, which we all know, the politicians there put the people who are positive back into the nursing homes. So that is responsible for more death than anything. And those politicians get De Blasio and Cuomo get like no blame. And it's just like, wow. It makes you feel like crazy. Like I said, I'm Orange Man agnostic. I'm not a supporter of the guy. So when I'm forced to defend him, I feel like awkward. But it's like, come on. Stop blaming him for all of the coup deaths as if no local government has any culpability. Stop believing misinformation about the coup. Realize there are areas like, well, even in his own country, South Dakota, and of course Sweden, who didn't lock down, and they have a lower death rate from the coup, which is already astronomically low, than we do. So this idea that Trump is solely responsible for every single person that died of the coup is just ridiculous. It is not factually based. That doesn't mean you need to say everything he did to handle it or everything he said. I think a lot of things he said were a lot worse than the things he did. He said a lot of things that I'm sure he probably would like to take back. And there are other things that he said as far as HCQ, which I think I wish would have got pushed a little bit more because there was science to back that up. The bleach thing kind of was ridiculous, but I think he was referring to the thing. I'm trying to give him a pass, but I don't know. The bleach thing was kind of stupid. I believe he was referring to it cleaning off other stuff, or I can't really remember the bleach code, but I do remember it being kind of stupid, or the cleaning stuff. My point is, even if you hate him, even if you thought it was kind of a bit of irony in him catching the coup, if you're American, you do not want right now the president to pass on in the middle of an election season. It would cause a lot more chaos than we already have. I think this election is already something that's going to potentially end up in the Supreme Court. And it hasn't even, well, I guess it has started early because I know it started here locally. I'm in the Carolinas. But yeah, that's my thoughts about the Orange Man getting sick. Like I said, I did a video or a stream about it right around the time it got leaked or it came out. It's crazy that this guy is going to have basically his immune system politicized because as we see, the reporting on how good his condition is already in dispute. And depending on how well he recovers, if he recovers, very quickly and he's constantly talking throughout the process and you feel like he really isn't facing the most severe symptoms, is going to color a lot of the people who support him or the people who are against these lockdowns. Is going to give them a lot of feel like, see, the president got it. He's older in these risk categories. He got over it. If it's a very tough, challenging ordeal with the coup and or something, you know, unfortunate happens, it's going to be bedlam. And I think the lockdowns will get more increased. I think a lot of people will politically use that as fuel to fuel their fear, and that fear will be fuel to fuel unfortunate legislation and unfortunate action. And actually, I'm not covering it today, but I did see back home in the great state of Michigan, Governor Whitmer was taken to task about the court by the courts there, and told that a lot of things she did were just outright wrong. So let's get into this very sick and unfortunate incident with Rick Moranis as my mouse shits the bed a little bit. And there we go. As my mouse amber turds. So Rick Moranis was attacked while walking near NYC's Central Park. I think it was on the street Central Park West. I'm not a New Yorker, so don't quote me on that. Ghostbusters star took himself to the hospital and filed a police report. Actor Rick Moranis was attacked while walking in New York City on Thursday. Fox News can confirm. The Honey I Shrunk the Kids star, 67, was sucker punched by an unknown assailant while walking on a sidewalk near New York's Central Park. A rep from the star confirmed to Fox News on Friday. Rick Moranis was assaulted on the Upper West Side yesterday, but he is fine and grateful for everyone's thoughts and well wishes, a rep said in a statement. Surveillance Surveillance video shows a man wearing a black I Heart New York sweatshirt and a backpack hitting Moranis, knocking him to the ground at approximately 7:24 a.m. Thursday. The attack happened a few blocks from Central Park West apartment building where the Ghostbusters character lived in the movie. Okay, that's pretty ironic. Moranis took himself to the hospital and later went to the police station to report the incident. A law enforcement official, snitching ass cops, told the Associated Press. And police released surveillance video of the assault, seeking the public's help to find the attacker, but did not name Moranis as the victim because of privacy concerns. Police described the incident as a random, unprovoked attack, but of course, people figured out who it was, and as noted, that law enforcement official talk to the Associated Press. This is Chris Evans and his reaction to what happened. As the stupid, my mouse is constantly going to Amber Turd, so I apologize. By Amber Turd, I mean, of course, shit the bed. As I get, sorry about that. Chris Evans says his blood is boiling over Rick Moranis being attacked. You don't touch him, and this is basically a saying report, but it shows Chris Evans' perspective. Chris Evans had a strong reaction to hearing beloved actor Rick Moranis was a victim of a random attack near his New York City home. The Captain America star reacted on Twitter after news broke Friday morning. My blood is boiling. Find this man. You don't touch Rick Moranis. And then, of course, this goes back into the report. NYPD released video of Moranis walking down the street in NYC. There's Upper West Side apartment by Central Park where an unidentified man sucker punches him in the head and walks away. So these reports don't have the video, and it's probably best. I don't even think I can show the video. But this is a disgusting attack, and I hope the dude should be charged with attempted murder. Rick Moranis, 67 years old, could have died realistically. Having said that, this is going to be a kind of a can of worms statement, right? Like I said, I think the guy should go to jail for attempted murder, up under the jail, big rock, little rocks, as ABL would say. However, I was watching actually FNT, Friday Night Tights, because I'm a huge fan of that. And I saw some of the reaction, and this is not the only place where I saw this reaction. It was like immediately, this has to be a hate crime because the guy, the assailant, was a black man. Has to be a hate crime. Clearly, it's because of the mainstream media pushing this ideology of black victimhood, which I'm not for. I'm not for this black victimhood mess that's coming out either. The knockout game is something that only attacks white people, which, listen, I'm an old fart. I had some from Detroit, obviously. I had people from New York came that I was really close with, came to the city or came to the area, and they had told me about this knockout. They were the first people to tell me about the knockout game. It's the early mid-2000s, and it was not a racially motivated thing. It was just an ignorant motivated thing, right? So it was just, I'm sure historically most of the victims of the knockout game were black and brown because it was mainly in those neighborhoods, and it's stupid. It shouldn't exist, and I'm not sure if that was the motivation for this. I'm not sure what the motivation was for this man. It could have been a hate crime. It could have been he saw an old Caucasian man just said, "I'm gonna knock this guy down. Fucking, I'm angry," and everything he sees on social media and the media spun him up. But can we at least get some investigation? I get it. That immediate snap reaction of seeing what you see creates a lot of emotion, but you're jumping to the same conclusions that I've seen you defend in other situations. You immediately knew this was a hate crime. You immediately knew it was racially motivated. Yet some of the same people in the very, back when a lot of these incidents and these police killings, and each one is his own monster, right? And as I kind of covered with the Breonna Taylor, there's a lot of fuckery going on with a lot of these incidents, but you hear a lot of these people say, well, we don't know if these killings are racially motivated. And I agreed with them. So how in the fuck can you say for sure that this is racially motivated? You don't know. If we find this assailant, I hope we do. I know there's a reward for the guy, and we find that his social media is filled with all this crazy anti-white stuff or anti-Semitic stuff. then you can go down that angle. If there's more evidence, if he has a history of doing this, then you can go down that angle. But all you did is see the incident. You do not know what that man's motivation was before he did it. I think it's an attempted murder case. I'm not defending this man. Like I said, he should be up under the jail. You don't just hit random people like that. That's disgusting. Um, but this is something that's been going on in New York for decades. And it's not always racially motivated. It could be, but I just think that jumping to conclusion, we can't do that. Everything we see in media, mainstream media, is meant to balkanize and divide people. And a lot of it is complexly so. So it can be something like I mentioned, these incidents, these police killings. There's usually some evidence for the police, some evidence against the police for the most part. There's some, a little bit black and white either way. And that's by design, especially if like I said, with the Breonna Taylor situation, which I don't want to say too much. If there's some fuckery about with that stuff, and there's some total misinformation of the whole case. The whole case has and something's rotten in Denmark about that situation. And something is rotten in Denmark about a lot of situations. We get the balkanizers, we get half truths, or we get a truth that is one side on the Kyle Rittenhouse. He must be a white supremacist, or he's a hero, and neither are true, right? So we can't see incidents like this where it's just anyone universal. Rick Moranis shouldn't have been attacked. It's disgusting. Dude needs to go to jail. But we can't see these incidents and then add to them. Let the information play out. Let the police do their job, which I know is something that's not popular in this country anymore. But let's see if this is a racially motivated thing or if this is a hate crime. Again, attempted murder to me should be charged if this guy is caught, and I hope to God that he is. But everyone needs to stop jumping to so many conclusions the instant they see something, especially when they'll criticize people for doing the exact same thing if they're on the other side of an issue. So that's the heavy stuff for now. I started with the two heaviest stories, and now we're going to get into something a little bit lighter, a little bit more palatable. Jamie Foxx's Electro won't be blue in the Marvel Spider-Man 3. And actually, I have two tabs open because that's kind of disputed whether or not he's going to be blue. 2012's The Amazing Spider-Man 2's Jamie Foxx's nebbish Max Dillon falls into an ill tank, is electrified, turning his skin blue and transforming him into the super villain Electro. The movie ended up being such a disaster that it derails Sony's plans for more hero sequels. But we learned this week Fox's Electro is making a surprise return in Sony and Marvel Studios' next Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland. According to Fox, there will be significant changes to Electro this time around. His skin won't be blue. In the event that you don't recall the exact spoilers, let me skip down. Let me just get to his quote. Tell Spidey, let's run it back, he wrote. Super excited to be part of the new Marvel Spider-Man installment. Can't wait for y'all to check out this new one, and I won't be blowing this one. 1,000% badass. There's something else. Spoiler alert. So that's the reporting on that as far as him being blue. But I think there's some refuting of that. My problem is I do a lot of research and then I'll delete some of the research tabs. So the Marvel higher ups, because Jamie Foxx took down that post I spoke about. As for why Jamie Foxx took down the post, I suspect some Marvel higher ups didn't like him revealing the information just yet. Once the information in line, it might as well be written in ink, especially if it comes from a celebrity. So there's a lot of excitement, and this is not the first time they did this with the Spider-Man franchise. If you remember, and I think it's mentioned in other articles, J.K. Simmons reprised his iconic J. Jonah Jameson role in Spider-Man Far From Home. They made him Alex Jones, which I didn't like, especially because J.K. Simmons, and I'll fight anyone on this, has the best portrayal of a comic book character and the most true portrayal of a comic book character on film, and it's by a long shot. There's been no actor to bring to life their character from the pages as exact as J.K. Simmons did J. Jonah Jameson in the first three Spider-Man movies. He played that character perfectly, and then they brought him back, and he was kind of a different character. Now, I didn't actually see the Amazing Spider-Man series. I think that's becoming my catchphrase, one of many I didn't actually see because I didn't want to see it. I got tired of Spider-Man constantly being a teenager. I only saw Far From Home on a farce because it just happened to be on. I'm not a fan of constantly redoing Spider-Man, making him a kid. I like the Tobey Maguire era, so I didn't see Jamie Foxx as Electro. And if let me see. I really hope I have the report. Let me see when we go back. Electro. They say he won't be blue, and apparently he may be blue. But I don't know where they're going with this. I'm trying to look for the thing where they dispute whether or not he's blue. I guess Marvel has no comics. No comics. I don't know where they're going with Jamie Foxx as Electro because they already did it. It didn't work. I don't know why you would bring him back with this villain. And I mean, honestly, Jamie Foxx, I get it. At the time, he had a lot more star cachet than he does now. Um, I'm not sure if there's been a lot of clamoring for Electro to come back. I hadn't heard it. I'm not saying this is a bad idea either. I don't know where they're going with this. I'm not sure if he's going to be the same Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man or if he's just reprising his role and they're going to have a new origin for him. It's interesting. And I know at the end of the Amazing or Far From Home, they revealed his identity and there's a lot of multiverse stuff and they're doing a Doctor Strange multiverse stuff. So I'm not sure if that's going to come into play. It's pretty ironic considering DC spent a decade trying to copy Marvel with the MCU and they failed. And they said, hey, we're going to do a multiverse. And now Marvel's doing a multiverse scenario. But this is interesting. I hope it's good regardless of what happens. I'm not a big fan of Spider-Man in the MCU. I think he's Tim Drake Robin as Spider-Man, and I don't like it. He was Batman. He was the Robin to RDJ's Batman, and that's not what Spider-Man is as a character. He's his own character, and they haven't really portrayed him as that. Even in Far From Home, he's in RDJ's shadow and everything. I think that's the weakness of the MCU relative to Spider-Man. Like he can't just be his own character in his own world. Not saying you want him to still be connected to the Marvel verse. He's Marvel's iconic character, most iconic character, but because of the MCU world they created, it was at odds with to me creating the best Spider-Man world. And I think the MCU in general is in a bad way, or is looking like it's headed for a bad way. When you consider Black Widow has been delayed, all these movies have been delayed, and Black Widow itself is about a character that's already dead. Unfortunately, Black Panther has passed, so that kind of kills whatever motivation people had to see that movie, especially if they make Shuri Black Panther. I don't. I mean, I get it. It happened in the comics, and it's probably the most logical reason for it. But I just think a lot of that energy is going to be lost with unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman. The reports of Spider-Man in the new Captain Marvel movie is again he's going to be a sidekick role to kind of help that movie. I just don't see anything positive for the MCU. This is a very interesting piece of news, but I'm not sure it's impactful. And the only thing in the MCU I'm genuinely excited for is WandaVision. I think it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be creative. I think it's going to be interesting. So that's pretty much it on this story. Let's keep it moving. Star Wars Squadrons writer Mitch. Oh my God! I actually just changed the batteries for this freaking mouse, and it just still amber turns. Okay. Star Wars Squadron writer Mitch Dyer reveals pilot Keo Vinzi uses they/them pronouns. Star Wars, I'm gonna read the story and then give my little reaction to it, or read part of it. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. Star Wars Squadron writer Mitch Dyer recently revealed the game's character Keo uses they/them pronouns. Dyer took to Twitter to share a screenshot of Keo Vinzi and wrote friendly PSA. People start talking about characters, Keo's pronouns, and Star Wars Squadron. They/them. Thank you. As detailed by StarWars.com, Keo Vinzi is a New Republic fighter and a member of the Vanguard Squadron. The character was born on Muriel and thus is a Murielian. So, before kind of giving my spiel on this, I think I need to clarify why people get upset about stuff like this, because I can imagine if you are a hardcore leftist or in those spectrums, when you see someone getting mad at pronouns, your snap reaction is they must be transphobic, homophobic, whatever phrase you want to use. They're bigoted. And you don't understand why someone would get upset about pronouns. Why does it matter, right? That would be the argument against it, right? The reason people get upset is a lot of times the virtue signal itself. Let's say they had just done it and just made it subtle, and it's just a part of it. I mean, there's been LGBTQ characters throughout fandom forever, right? And they just make this character that happens to be trans, it happens to have they, them, and they're a really good, engaging character. People are just going to like it. You know what I mean? But it's the virtue signal itself that seems disingenuous. And to be fair to Miss Dyer, as we know in this industry, it doesn't necessarily have to be where Miss Dyer is like, oh man, I need to virtue signal to everyone. It could be something like, hey, put out a report. This is how it is. We got to make sure we send things out that we're you know, I don't want to use the term woke as it's become pejorative. I'm trying to find the positive. We're an ally. We're allies. We're trans allies. We're LGBTQ allies. We have to put it out there that that's what we are. And so it just feels disingenuous to, this is unnecessary. This is a friendly PSA, but it's for the point of getting pats on the back. And that disingenuousness is why people get so upset at this sort of stuff, especially because Star Wars is a beaten down franchise that they abuse and abuse and abuse, and they have taken all of the cachet from it in that abuse. So of course people are going to be upset when they hear, we want to hear about new stories, new cool things happening. No one cares about this person's pronouns. And in fact, I think people like me, YouTubers and individuals like that, are going to make it bigger. Look at the comments, they could be cancer. But I think people like us are going to be more upset and give this more attention than anything. I don't understand. I do understand the virtual signaling game. It's a lot of, it's not from a genuine place, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe Mitch Dyer is really genuinely passionate. Maybe he's I don't know where he is on the spectrum. But I don't think that should be the first thing you report. And I think it would be a lot better, not necessarily if you tossed it, if it's something where you're asked, you say, oh, well, yeah, this person's trans, that's one thing. But to lead with that is as if you've done nothing else with this character. And quite frankly, what we've seen from woke Hollywood is that trans is all they have. Like they didn't write a good character 9 times out of 10. Their identity. The identity is all they have. They come up with this identity. This is a lesbian woman of color, whatever buzz phrase they love. And that's it. They have no idea how to write characterization. And that comes from the fact that wokeness is a symptom. It is not the origin, right? You have a bunch of people that can't write, and so they hide behind wokeness because you can't criticize me or else you're an istophobe. On top of that, you have these higher ups who have this Marxist, cultural Marxist energy, legitimate cultural Marxism, and they have their nefarious agenda. It is nefarious. It is wicked, unfortunately. I know I'm actually going to debunk some conspiracy theories a little bit later, and that could sound conspiratorial, especially with, some of the other things I've said. But there is an agenda to separate everyone, to balkanize everyone, and it's been in media for a while. If they want to write a character that's LGBTQ or trans, just make a trans character, just make a good character. And think about Samus, right? Because this is a video game. Metroid, we didn't know Samus was a girl to the end, and it was like a reveal. So if you're just playing a game and partway through you realize, oh, this character's trans, but you were engaged in the character, you're not going to care. And I'm not trying to say that to say, oh, somebody who's trans should hide that identity. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying it shouldn't be the lead of the character. The identity shouldn't be the lead of the character. And you should make it something that's happenstantial for us as a fan, where the character's traits outside of their identity are so compelling that then we care about them and then their identity adds to it. That's how you write a good character. And that's not what I see. And that's what people get fearful. They say, here's a virtue signal, here's an incomplete character. And if I criticize, I'm going to be called an istophobe. That's what people have been conditioned to think and feel when they see a tweet like this by Mitch Dyer talking about this character, Keo Vinzi, coming up in Star Wars Squadron. And I want to give an example of, I would say, one of the better and the most intimidating LGBTQ character I've ever seen in any media is Captain Vogan from Metal Gear Solid 3. And the fact that he's bi does not make him any less scary. It doesn't make him less intimidating, doesn't make him less of a villain. And in fact, kind of adds to his energy as a villain. And it was a well-written character who was LGBTQ, and it didn't, it added to their character, and it wasn't thrown in your face, and you weren't told anything. And he was a villain, so you were allowed to not like him if you wanted to, but he was cool. He was fucking cool. And that's it. You make a cool fucking character, nothing matters. Nothing else matters. You can make, if Keo Vinzi is a cool ass character, then all your sins will be forgiven, Mitch Dyer. Focus on making a cool ass character in a good game. They, them, beep, bop, boop, nothing matters. So that is my thoughts on that story. So we're going to bring the Orange Man back. Speaking of gender, so the Navy SEALs have a gender neutral thing going on. And Trump is vowing to undo it. Let's get into it. Trump vows to undo gender neutral changes to Navy SEAL Creed statement, which I believe there are only 2 female Navy SEALs at this point, or something incredibly low. President Trump is vowing to reverse changes to the U.S. Navy SEALs ethos statement to make it gender neutral just days after words like man and brotherhood were eliminated. The changes, first reported Monday by American Military News, include common man to common citizens, I am that man to I am that warrior, in an effort to remove gender-specific references after the Force Secretary Ash Carter opened up all military combat roles to women in 2015. I will be overturning this ridiculous order immediately. A Navy spokesperson referred to inquiries late Thursday in the White House, while Chief Pentagon spokesperson Jonathan Hoffman did not return messages seeking a comment. Political reports, a White House spokesperson also declined on the comment, the outlet reported. So, let me actually read this last part. The changes do not in any way reflect the lowering standard of entry. Rather, they ensure that all those who meet the requirements to train to become a SEAL or SWCC are represented in the ethos or creed they live out. This improves the posture of the NSW force, ensuring we draw the greatest pool of talent available. As of Monday, no women have completed training to become a SEAL or Navy Special Combatant Craft crewman. So 0 is the amount of Navy SEALs. So why do you have this? By the definition they gave, their inference is that this ensures we draw from the greatest pool of talent available, is that there are potentially women that could pass the Navy SEAL training, but do not sign up because they're offended by the language. That is impossible, right? Because any human who is tough enough to get through the Navy SEAL training does not give a quarter of a fuck about pronouns and this gender crap. Like, and I'm not trying to call your gender identity crap, whatever you define yourself. I wish you the best, but this is not being done. This, again, the virtue signal itself. You're not doing this to field more talent if no woman has ever become a Navy SEAL. You're doing this to virtual signal. Motherfucker, you are the armed forces. You are what keeps us free. I have a brother who was in the Navy, in fact, and he was stationed near China. And I told him the other day, or not the other day, the other month, like, dude, you really kept us free. Like, if your boat was not there, that impacts how China reacts globally. It really does. So these armed forces, I know a lot of people can be against the military. They keep us free. They keep us safe, straight up. And that's their focus. This gender neutral stuff, it's just virtual signaling. It has nothing to do. This does not make us a better Navy. And on some level, I get it. This is a federal thing. It's a federal organization. And you want to make sure everything is, you're trying to be too political. No one called for this. No one asked. I'm trying to look and see if there's comments. I don't think there is. No one asked for this. This is not necessary. This is not wanted. Trump has vowed to do it, and I'm sure with him undoing this critical race theory, the uninitiated just consider him to be the same bigot, not knowing the reason why. This is unnecessary. But to be fair, it's so unnecessary that I don't think adding it impacts too much either. I don't think the Navy SEALs are going to be worse because I am that man is now I am that warrior. But again, it's just the motivations. The motivation listed is a complete lie. It is not to feel the greater. There's no woman who could become a Navy SEAL, who could go through all this training, that is not going to do it because you have brotherhood. That's not happening. And I get, opening up, making things equal, and that's fine. But this is unnecessary. And this is just being silly. But again, it's so irrelevant either way. I'm sure no Navy SEAL cares. I'm sure there's very few in the Navy SEAL ranks that could give a quarter of a crap. So back to something a little bit more light, this Indiana Jones situation. So Indiana Jones, I'm actually going to go to good old Clownfish TV, their blog, Pirates and Princesses. I'm going to go back and forth between that and the Independent. And of course, every time I change a story, the mouse takes about 5 seconds to realize what happened. But Pirates and Princesses believe Indiana Jones may be canceled. And we have here that Spielberg quit as a director because his ideas didn't work. Now, that's a bit of a spin from the headline writer. If you read the exact quote, what the hell is this? Let's close. The exact quote says, I had a couple different versions with Steven, and they all had some good stuff about them. They all had some stuff that didn't work. That's the exact quote, which David Cope told Den a Geek. So this headline's a little bit of spin. But Steven Spielberg is no longer the director. This initial screenwriter, David Cope, has left. He says it was very hard to have everybody come together all at once, have all the elements, Steven, Harrison, the script, and Disney. It just didn't, it didn't. He admit the scriptwriter process. This doesn't make sense because this guy left. He says the script writing process eased up once Spielberg decided to quit as director. James Mangold was announced as his replacement. When James Mangold came in and Steve stepped out, it was a pretty logical breaking point. It's a gracious time to step out the door because I think the last thing a new director wants is an old director's writer. Again, this sentence that was in this article makes no sense because what he says does not say that the process eased up. He basically said, I quit when Steve quit, so I don't get that. So this is a good old spin by the media. But the point is, there's trouble in paradise. And then when you look at WDW Pro's report from Pirates and Princesses, and I'm not sure, is WDW Pro one of them? I'm a huge fan of Clownfish. I have a sneaking suspicion it may be Neon, but that's neither here nor there. A recent, this is going to go into some of the same statement, recent statements about the lack of script for Indiana Jones 5 may be a beginning of a slow, quiet cancellation for Indy 5. David Cope has been making the rounds with an interview, which he was very careful to emphasize how amicable the breakup was for Steven Spielberg and the Harrison for Swan Song film. We're told it was only the script that come on. I love you guys. Gotta get this right. The only script that was the problem. Things just couldn't come together the way everything wanted. It's nobody's fault. Really, everything was super polite. That's essentially the message that was sent out behind the scenes turmoil. In reality, The movie is now hanging by a thread, according to our sources. At this point, it doesn't look like a script has been finalized by James Mangold, and there are no indications he may begin filming at any point in the near future. It is to the point that even Shia LaBeouf, I did not know he was involved in this. I hope to God not. Do it. Even Shia LaBeouf is reportedly making a push to get in the film for a jolt to his career. He was definitely set up to be the next Indiana Jones in the last terrible Crystal Skull movie. But of course, his career didn't turn out and they never really followed that up. We're told other possible actors and actresses are clueless as to whether or not they may get the call for the movie. Clearly, things are not as they should be for a film to be in a ready state. So if actors and actresses have not been called, there's no film plan, there's no shooting plan, there's no script, there's no nothing. There's this. I agree with WDW Pro. If that's where they are at this state of things, with Harrison Ford's age, a pandemic, and the next paragraph gets into it. When you have a pandemic going on, and there's talks about other properties with older leads, Picard maybe not getting made because you can't assure the lead. We have the president with the coof, and we know that people in that age range are the ones most at risk. Harrison Ford is currently 78. He could be 79, depending on when the production begins. And that, again, we need a script and everyone to get on board. And 6 or 7 months for that to happen. If it goes out longer, he could be 80. I mean, that's 80 to film a movie. That's especially one that may require a lot of physical movement. I mean, he did the Han Solo thing. Great. To me, he was the star of The Force Awakens. He was the bright spot of that movie. And that was only a few years ago. But I don't want more years and more age to get on him and him do this movie. I don't think. Let me just read the paragraph because it emphasizes what I'm saying. The problem is the pandemic situation, which not only makes it hard to travel to different exotic locations, but a sideline the lead actor. Because, like, again, this is the filming table. He's 78. He can be 79 before production begins. And that's if it's in mid-2021. If it's later than that, he could be older. And they have to get the script down, get the cast down, get everything done. And this movie's already been in developmental hell for almost a decade. So I think it's a fair assessment that there may not be an Indiana Jones 5, which I am fine with because there shouldn't have been an Indiana Jones 4. I think in general, Hollywood needs original new properties. What is this I have up? Oh, just another useless tab. We need original new property. What is this? Oh, got to get into that. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. I'll take a break and get back into this. Indiana Jones 5 should be canceled. I don't want to see this. Even if everything came together and the stars aligned, I have no desire to see another Indiana Jones movie. The original 3 are good enough. We do not need a 5th. We did not need a 4th. No one remembers the 4th outside of Nuke the Fridge. It was a terrible movie. And I don't think Nuke the Fridge, that's not even a site anymore, is it? It was a terrible movie. It was terrible. It's one of the, I'm not going to say early, but it's one of those examples, one of the earliest examples, at least relative to the modern era, of your childhood being effed with, of your childhood being screwed with for no reason other than money. And now when you add the woke agenda, as everyone's afraid of with Hollywood, on top of the greed and the creative bankruptness, nobody wants to see an Indiana Jones 5. No one on earth. I think a lot of people love Harrison Ford, but I just don't think he can do the role now in his age and with the coof. It's just a bad idea. Just a bad idea. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be real fun. Is this my last thing? Yeah, this is going to be the last thing before I get to the positive news. I always like to end on positive news. So this is the penultimate story. So there are a lot of conspiracy theories about this debate. So I'm actually, believe it or not, and I am as conspiratorial as anyone, I'm going to help debunk these. So you may see this picture. There's some weirdness to this, don't get me wrong, but because somebody had their account knocked out, or their Twitter account. But there's this belief that he had some drug in these connectors. And then there's, of course, a tweet of logic when you don't get most of these. There is it. This one. He's a devout Catholic, and that's just his late son bead rosary around his wrist. Any more questions? I honestly think that's what it is. I'm sorry. I know that would be more fun, and he was a cyborg getting his juice pumped into his veins. And then the Trump campaign is not helping things. Oh, the Hill's playing. Shut up, Hill. Trump campaign is not adding things. And to some extent, this is probably a good idea. The Trump campaign wants to have a third party examine both him and his Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's ears for electronic devices before Tuesday night's presidential debate. Now, we know it's not going to happen with the coup. Fox News reported part of an ongoing effort of the president's supporters to paint the former vice president as mentally incompetent. Hold on, bro. I don't think we need to paint this guy as mentally incompetent. I think he's shown enough of that as it is. But of course, there's a big push that, he had this Peace Knuckles account has been lost. And there's something about his eyes. And do I have the eyes? There's something to that. You look at his eyes, close up. Oh, jeez. We got news for you. Good news for you. I'm not going to turn off the ad blocker. But there's something about his eyes when you look at him. Close up, not sure if you guys can see. If you're on the phone, maybe hard to see. But they're a lot bluer there. And in this picture, they look a little bit darker. The idea is that he has some Google Glass cyber eyes. And don't forget, Trump himself is not immune for this patch thing. As I showed, if I can go back as I hop around tabs, look at those eyes staring at you. Come on, man. Just here, there's something about this patch. Now, this patch is actually not from the debate, but it's a creepy, weird-looking patch. Maybe it's a Neuralink. Maybe they're being brainwashed. And then there's even a little bit more. This is talking about the town hall where that picture was from, but of course, initially it was reported as being from the debates. He says at tonight's town hall, what the F Trump has that a patch where they apply electroshock treatments is the human max pill. Go. Why is it no agenda analyzing this? It's probably from his hairpiece coming off, scalp reduction. And then someone says it's an NPH shunt. Now, this is interesting because this would imply that the president had health issues before the coup. I don't think any of these, maybe there's an NPH shunt. There's something in his hair. I don't know. And to read a little bit more about NPH, it says there's no cure. The symptoms can be managed through surgery. Surgery involves inserting a drainage system called a shunt. On one end of the shunt is a long, sturdy, flexible plastic tube. It is placed into the brain's ventrices, and the other end is tunnel under the skin to usually another area of the body, usually the lower abdomen. So that's the theory on Trump's patch. Again, I don't think Joe Biden had super eyes. I don't know how they would have helped him in the debate. He still screwed up with numbers. I think Trump interrupting his idiocy gave him more help than anything because he got in some rambles and Trump would interrupt him with his doing his little gimmick. But no, Joe Biden's not a robot. He doesn't have, I don't know what this is supposed to be. He doesn't have crap being IV'd in his vein. And neither is Trump. Trump is not a robot either. He does not have a brain control patch. So that's just a little bit of fun. I don't really have much to say, only to say I don't believe any of this crap. And even if you tell me that, because there's another thing about Biden maybe having an ear patch. I actually don't have that up. Unfortunately, do I? Let's fact check. Oh, just the neurostimulator thing. Because that came out again around the same time as the Biden thing. Yeah, I just think that's all fake. I think it's fun. It's cute, cool. I wish it wasn't censored so heavy. Like I said, this Peace Knuckles account got banned. I think that's going too hard. To let people have fun. If we want to think our politicians are robots or have super high tech, let us. And I know somebody is probably saying, "No, he had stuff in his eyes." Listen, I don't even know how that would help him. quite frankly. I don't even understand how being able to see a bunch of information like your Iron Man or whatever is going to help you think on your foot, unless you're saying that somebody was literally like he had a teleprompter in his eyes and somebody was reacted for him. And the way he acted, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think that's completely crazy. And it sounds so unbelievable. Mainly because I bump to the mic again, damn it. The reason it sounds so unbelievable because just how does it help him? Unless it's a teleprompter situation, I don't see how it helps him when everything has to be off the cuff, especially going with Trump where he talks off the cuff. So I don't think Google Eyes would even have helped him or whatever eye laser, whatever he's supposed to have. So again, I could be conspiracy theory man with the best of them. There's no conspiracy here. I'm sorry to say. So it's time to end with a palate cleanser. I know that was a lot of crap, and we got to have some positive news to remind us, this episode is called Honey, I Shrunk the morality of someone attacking Rick Moranis, the morality of everyone wishing death upon a president. We have lost our moral fabric as a society, if you believe the mainstream media. And that's why I have these type of news stories to remind us that there are good people in this world and everybody's not wicked. So a Team McDonald's employee pays for a family's meal when the mom forgets her wallet, and then she raises $32K for him. This is incredible. When a stressed out mom rolled out to McDonald's drive-thru to purchase a meal for her children, and she realizes with dismay, making her order, that she left her purse at home. The teenage server at the window didn't send her away. Wyatt Jones said he'd happily pay for the meal. Brittany Reed was more than grateful. It had already been a long day at soccer practice with her 4 and 7-year-old. Later that night, person told Brittany drove back to the McDonald's to give Wyatt the money back, but the Waynesville, Ohio local insisted the meal was on him. Brittany wrote in a Facebook post, I just want his parents to know how kind and compassionate your son was tonight. He made the stressed out mama pause for a moment and realize exactly what we parents are trying to do. Raise good humans, she explained. Wyatt, do not let this world change your heart. A kind heart, young man. For it's people like you that change the world for the better. And I agree, Mr. Wyatt. I can't help but think of Bray Wyatt. Wyatt has showed Brittany such kindness, how to thank him even more. On hearing that he was saving up to buy a car, Brittany began a GoFundMe campaign on his behalf, and as of October 1st, she's raised nearly $32K for him. Let's see what she got, actually, as of this reporting, because it's a day or so old. As I said, I prepared this episode yesterday, so he may be past 32K. Let's see what this guy is at. Be like Wyatt. He's at almost 34K now. I think of Wyatt up and Bray Wyatt. But wow, really nice story. And the rare time where a Facebook post does something positive. So this is a cool story. Again, I just like having a positive end to these podcasts, palate cleanser stuff. It's just a good story. There's nothing more to react. It's really cool that this Wyatt Jones said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I got you. That was very nice of him. And that's very nice of her to help him with his situation. He's saving up for a car. So she helps him. I wasn't crying. That was just me yawning. So she helps him save up. And now he has enough for a better car than I have. And this is going to be the last story. This is also heartwarming as well. Man with terminal cancer wants to paint the house his wife's favorite color, and a friend swarm in and do it for him. And I cannot pronounce this brother's last name. I'm going to just say Joris, and that may be incorrect, and I apologize. Tim Joris, a 22-year veteran teacher, is facing one of life's hardest lessons. Last year, the 45-year-old father of 3 was diagnosed with colon cancer. As we all know, that took Chadwick Boseman from us far too soon. This July, despite chemotherapy treatments, wow, doctors told him he only had a few months to live. Horace decided to spend what precious time he had left at home with his wife and kids. After revealing the circumstances of his retirement from Washington High School on social media, the Sioux Falls, South Dakota community immediately rallied to his support. One thing Horace was determined to take care of before his time ran out. This is a really sad story. but again, it's heartwarming. One thing he wanted to take care of was to make sure the family home painted blue, a color his wife loves, even if he wasn't there to do it himself. Horace turned to his friend Doug Rinkin, a retired chemistry teacher, for help. I just asked him next summer. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, it hit me in the feels. I just asked him next summer, which I probably won't be here for, if he can paint it for my wife. I'm sorry, this is actually getting me a little emotional because it's a very sad story. And Winkin did better than that. The following Saturday, a painting crew comprised of Horace's former co-workers with donated brushes, sprayers, drop cloths, and paint. Doug told me he got quite a bit of help. I didn't know it was going to represent my whole career. Wow. Hit me right in the feels. People from all my years at Washington High, Horace told me, I don't know him, told the Argus leader. 5 hours later, the facade of the once brown house was light blue. Everyone celebrated with an impromptu get-together in the family driveway. As thrilled as Horace was as having his wish fulfilled, he was equally happy to spend time with his colleagues. He missed so much and reminisced out over a few well-earned beers. If you spend your life being a good person, hanging around good people, and trying to make a positive impact on your community, if you need something, people will show up, Horace reflected humbly. It's pretty amazing the outpouring of love my family's had. Like I said, it got me a little emotional. It's a very heartwarming, genuinely heartwarming story. Hit me in the feels live on air. Another lesson the Horace family will be reminded whenever they look back on this day is the color of love is blue. So that's, I think, a beautiful story to end on. Remembering that human beings come together in their time of need. Remembering that human beings are not the despicable, evil, wicked people that we can sometimes think of ourselves. We do have morality. We do care about our fellow human. And like I said, that story hit me in the feels. I wish that brother the best. I wish his family the best. I wish everyone involved the best. I didn't realize my hat was crooked this whole time. But that's the show. Like I said, I got a little emotional at the end. That was a very heartwarming story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please like the video. If you didn't, I'm sorry, I'm still a little emotional on that last story. If you like the video, please like the video. If you love it or hate it, let me know in the comments below. If you're so obliged to share, subscribe, please do so. And even if you do none of these things, thank you for watching and thank you for your time. Have a blessed Saturday. God bless.